So today we're working on a clarinet. This is a Bundy, the older one, and upon inspection, two of the pads, these two down here actually, have already fallen out. The glue here has gotten old and brittle and it let go. So we're going to have to replace those pads. We do have one pad here that it's going to be a little hard to see this. But let's open it up. This one here, if you look in there, bring that up there. It looks like the mice have gotten to it. Well, they haven't, but it certainly looks that way. That pad has to be replaced. So I've got 1, 2, 3 pads here that have to be replaced. These are pretty thin pads too, by the way. And let's take a look down here. Yeah, that one also is a little chewed up right there, right on the edge. So that's replaced. So that's pretty much all of them. There's only one pad left. That would be the one up here. And looking at that, probably it seems okay, but you know, if we've got, and then we've got a pad here, and that one's pretty deep on the seat, and yeah, it's got a little bit of a, so we're going to have to repad at least the lower stack, the lower joint. If we look up here at the upper joint, what do we see? Well, this one here, yeah, that's right in here, and that's getting kind of gotten kind of chewed up and beat up. So there's one. And this one also has got some dings and that sort of thing. Oh, this one just came out. Actually, this one's broken off. So there's 2. So I think when we look it all the way through, we are looking at, we have to repad the entire thing. I'm going to change all the pads. Now this one here has come out. Yeah, there we go. This one here just came out, and that's looking pretty raggedy. That pad is. So that's going to have to go. So I think we're going to do a complete repad on this thing. Let's start with the lower joint then. We're going to have to take it apart first. We'll just put our parts and screws and everything in there. And it even has a lid, which is nice. I want to start right here. Work our way down from the tops of the keys. The keys here are stacked and kind of overlapped. So this one here, which goes all the way through here, holds these top two keys. That's where we want to start. And then we'll just kind of dig our way down. And we need our anti-aging device. Jeweler's loop, so I can actually see what I'm doing. Comes a point in time. Okay, now we're going to get that screwdriver right in there, and this screwdriver might be, yeah, there we go. And we'll just go ahead and pull that out. I got this screwdriver at Metzger's, the local hardware store. And I really like this one. This is pretty good. They've got others. They've got several others of different sizes. And I think over time, I'm going to want to get the whole set. Now that pin, that rod, what we have here is a rod that goes from here to here. The screw is over here. Screws in here, and it's just, we'll just pull that rod out, which would be better done if I was. It'd be easier to do if I was left-handed, only so that you could see me pulling it out. There we go. There's the rod. I'm going to pull that out there. I'm going to set that aside for the moment. And now, in theory, don't you just love that phrase? Okay. Right here we have a spring. Again, I don't know how well this is showing, but we have a spring that goes from here and goes right into this notch right there. So we're going to detach that spring. We could, of course, use a spring hook. And if you don't have a spring hook, the other thing that works is a crochet needle, which is kind of what I use as a spring hook. There we go. And now it's flipped around and under and behind, and then that key comes off. This key comes down. This lever operates this key here. It also operates the regulating foot right there, the crow's foot. Okay, so that's going to slide off, and then the next one ought to slide off also. And again, we'll go ahead and detach the spring. There we go. That was easier. Okay, this key here, this lever here operates this key here, and nothing else. So all we have to do now is get it to let go. There we go. And we can see better now that pad, which definitely right in here is pretty well chomped up. That's had it. I'll go ahead and pop that pad out. I have a feeling it's going to come out the way everything else is. Yeah, came out the way everything else is. We'll want to clean out all of this old glue before we do anything. But for the time being, and I think what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and put this in here. They don't have to be attached in perfect order, but what we want to do, I think we will, put this in here, put the rod back in here, and put the rod back in here. Okay, that way we know what key the rod goes to. Just like that. Okay. Another way to do that, of course, is to just go ahead and put the rod back in and stick it. But I think I want to get into this because I want to clean it out a little bit. Now, having taken those keys off, we'll take this key off. Just do this. Now here we've got a small screw. Bingo. I don't want that screw to come all the way out. Good way to lose it. So we'll go ahead and put that back in. And then if we trace along here all the way up here, the other end is right here. And it's to be the same thing. Small screw. What's that screw? Pivot screw it's called, actually. And all I gotta do is get that thing to come out just enough to release this. And this comes off. There's the key off. Let's tighten up that pivot screw so it This one is always a bit of a bear to get to. Some of these screws are a little bit more interesting to try to get to than others. And here's why it's called a pivot screw. Right here, you can see this. Here, the screw goes through here, and it's got a little point on it. And that point goes into right there. Okay? So that the key then can spin and pivot. Hence pivot screw. Alrighty. Here's that one. Now, let's go ahead and get this one off. See, here's the thing. Watch along here. Here's the rod. Here's the pivot screw. Now, we got a small problem. Those ring keys are in the way. And push them down a little bit, but it just makes for like a nightmare to try to get that out. So before we do that, we'll go ahead and take off the rings. And again, we've got a key in the way. There's our screw. But all I have to do is hold that key down and I can get in there and get hold of that. And again, we got a pivot screw here. So this is going to just come out a little bit. Just enough for that to release. There we go. See? It just popped it up. That's the spring. Spring pops it up, and put the pivot screw back in. And come over to this side. And it comes off. There we go. Okay. And then we'll want to take this one off. This actually has a rod going through it. We'll get over here. A little tight. Probably hasn't been lubricated since it was built. And if I reach in here, actually there it is, there's the drawer. Look at this drawer. I can get hold of these. Now, this is a needle nose, but it's with the jaws are smooth, so they don't do any damage. And I can just go ahead and give it a couple more twists. There we go. And out comes the rod, and off comes the key. And we'll stick the rod in there. And might as well go ahead and pop out. Yeah, this one here also slight damage right there. So we'll pop that out. There's another dead one. I'm keeping them for a moment for sizing. Alrighty, now I can finally get to this. See? Much easier. The one below. There we go. Much easier to get down there. Pull that out. And get hold of this one, because the spring will pop it from this end. There we go. Comes out. There we go. Detach the key. Attach the key at both ends. Key comes off. Pad fell out. Put the pivot screw back in so we don't lose the damn thing. Really tiny screws like this are really easy to lose. And finally, we need to take off these keys here. And again, we're going to take off these top two keys first before we try to take off that bottom key. So those hinge right here like this, okay? And they're going to come off this way. If the screwdriver will fit in there. There we go. Comes. There's that one. Okay. Now these kind of overlap each other. I'll show you how that works in half a second here. Let's get off the other one There it is. And that comes out. And then we can take this one off and this one off. And what they do is when they're in there, they overlap each other. So that you've got, here's the one, and then this one goes on top and under, just like that, and fits in that little thing there. Now we can fit together. And what we'll do is we'll put their little pins back in, put their rods back in, put that in, and put that in. Put those there, and that can go there. Here's what will often happen with really old pads. Notice how the pad is split off of its backing. The backing's still there, but the pad is split off. So let's go ahead and get that backing out. Oh, this one is going to be a bit of a nut, but yeah, it looks like that backing is just going to come out a little bit at a time. There we go. And that's garbage. And we got all this old glue here, and we're going to want to take all of that out. Let's go ahead and do that on this one, just so you can see the process. It's really flaky, and it is not what we would normally use. There is a glue called micro pad and cement, pad and cork cement, and I use that, but I use that only for corks. I don't use that for pads. We're going to use something different for the pads, but you can tell that this is probably the micro because of the color. It's the brown stuff, and the fact that it does have a tendency to get tends to get brittle, and then let's go. There we go. Okay, there's that one. We got one more key to take off. Right here, there's the screw, and there's a screw down here, so this is 2 pivot screws, and we'll take off this one first. Oh. Yeah, that's what that is. Okay. Bingo. And put that back in. And come to the other side. And this comes off. Put that in there. And we'll put that screw back in. Okay, and the clarinet has now been stripped down. At least this particular portion of the clarinet has been stripped down. What we'll do is we'll take a rag over it and just kind of rag over it and take the dust off, and we will then be, we'll clean off the barrel. There's your springs. There's your tone holes. These are your posts. Okay. And you just saw us take it apart. So, good to go, and I'll see you in the next video.